Okay, 2.9, we are doing the quotient rule. And why does it say the product rule? I don't know. Give me a second here. Okay, the quotient rule is when two functions are being divided, and it's a way to find the derivative of each when you only know the pieces and not the whole thing together. So it's g f prime minus f g prime over g squared. Okay, I'm going to tell you how I learned it in high school because it kind of stuck with me. Okay, I learned low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and away we go. Think about that. Low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and away we go. Okay, I'm going to do it that way because I still remember it that way. Okay, I'm looking at A. A is a fraction or a quotient, so I'm going to use the quotient rule because I don't see an easy way to simplify it without using the quotient rule. Since it started out as y, I'm going to make it y prime. Okay, now I'm going to do low d high. So the low is the 3x plus 1. D high is the derivative of the high, 2 times 2x, 4x. And then minus high d low. The derivative of the bottom is 3. Okay, I'm going to square the bottom. And away we go. Okay, but no, I'm going to simplify this now. Okay, what simplifies? Let me distribute the numerator and bring down what's left. I'm going to leave the denominator factored because it's more likely to be useful that way. Positive 6x squared plus 4x over 3x plus 1 squared. Okay, 6x squared plus 4x over 3x plus 1 squared. I see the numerator could factor, but it's not going to be useful to factor it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. Okay, let's go ahead and try B, and I'm going to do the same idea. It's a quotient, but together I don't have the derivative, so we'll take it apart. Okay, g prime x. Okay, I'm going to do low d high minus high d low. Square the bottom, and away we go. Okay, am I going to simplify? I'm going to simplify this. It's still not going to look great, but it'll look better than this. Okay, 2x times 3, 6x e to the x minus 6 e to the x over 4x to the second. Oh, I'm going to simplify this. I can't not simplify this. I'm debating. Should I take out the 6e to the x or should I just cancel out a 2? I'll just cancel out a 2. Because all of these are divisible by 2, I need to reduce my fraction. So 3x e to the x minus 3 e to the x over, divided by 2, 2x to the second. So I at least have simplified my fraction. Factoring would not help me simplify anything, so I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, let's try C. Quotient again, because it's some fraction that I have no idea what to do with. Okay, since it's h of x, I'm going to do h prime of x. Okay, low d high minus high d low. Okay, square the bottom, and away we go. Let me look at the numerator. I'm deciding if I should distribute. I don't think I'm going to distribute this. It doesn't bother me. This 4x in the back does bother me because it could start to look like sine of 4x squared, which it's not. It's doing 4x times the sine of x. Okay, and I certainly could have distributed the first two terms. I just didn't see them as useful or canceling anything, so I left it alone. Okay, now let's look at 3. Now 3, not 3D. Okay, now D, I can use the product, or I can use the quotient rule on it, but I don't have to use the quotient rule on it. So let me show it to you 2 different ways. Okay, say I see this and I'm like, quotient rule, let's do it. Okay, let's do the quotient rule real quick. It's low, D high, minus high, D low, square the bottom, away we go. Okay, let me simplify this, 6x squared. Okay, I'm going to split this into 2 fractions so I can simplify each fraction accordingly. What is this going to be? This is going to be negative 3 over 2x squared minus the 4's cancel and x cancels 1 over x to the 3rd. Okay, and this is a good answer, and there's nothing wrong with this answer. But I didn't have to use the quotient rule in this case. Because the denominator is 2x squared, it's a monomial, I could have simplified it from the beginning and then used the power rule. If I had made this 3x over 2x squared plus 1 over 2x squared, what would that be? That would be 3 over 2 x to the negative 1 plus 1 over 2 x to the negative 2. And then if I use the power rule, let's see, times negative 1, lower it. Times negative 2 is going to make it negative 1. And then I lower a degree. And I'm going to get negative 3 over 2x squared minus 1 over x to the 3rd, which is the same answer, but I think it would have been a lot less work to use the power rule rather than using the quotient rule. But as you can see, it's the same answer, so if you happen to do it that way, it's fine. Okay, for the last one, they're going to give me a table of values, and they want me to use the table of values to evaluate whatever they're trying to have me find. Okay, let's see. H of x equals negative g of x over 1 minus f of x. They want me to find h prime of 2, and they don't give me any equations, but they do give me this nice little quotient, so I'm going to use the quotient rule. Okay, so low, d high, negative g prime of x, minus high, d low, derivative 1 is 0, so negative f prime x. Okay, square the bottom. Okay, and away we go. Okay, let's just plug in. Okay, what am I trying to find? H prime of 2? Okay, let's do h prime of 2. Okay, so f of 2 would be f of x. F of 2 is 4. Times negative g prime of 2. G prime of 2 is 2, so this is going to be negative 2 minus negative g of x. Negative g of 2 is negative 1, so if I do negative 1, I'm going to get 1 times negative f prime of 2. See, f prime of 2 is negative 2, so negative 2 is going to give me 2. Okay, now in the denominator, 1 minus f of 2. F of 2 is 4, so 1 minus 4, and then squared. So h prime of 2 is going to be 4/9.